Rahim.
The Bluetooth device is ready to pair.
So loud. Should I even use it? I have to use it. I don't know. That's why. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salamu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin. Wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa barik wa salim. نويت تعلم وتعليم ومذكر وتذكير ونفع انتفاع والإفادة والاستفادة والحث التمسك بكتاب الله وسنة رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم ودعاء إلى الهدى ودلالة على الخير ابتغاء وجه الله ومرضاته وقربه وثوابه سبحانه وتعالى مع لطف وعافية من رحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنا نسألك علما لم يستفي هاني بغني. اللهم إنا نسألك علما لم يستفي هاني بغني. اللهم إنا نسألك علما لم يستفي هاني بغني. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. ربنا واجعلنا مسلمين لك ومن ذريتنا أمة مسلمة لك. قال ربي هب لي من لدنك ذرية طيبة إنك سميع الدعاء. رب اجعل هذا بلد آمن واجنبني وبني أن نعبد الأصنام. رب اجعلني مقيم الصلاة من ذريتي. ربنا وتقبل دعاء. ربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي. رب اغفر لي ولوالدي. ربنا اغفر لنا. رب اغفر لي ولوالدي وارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذريتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. ربي أوزعني أن أشكر نعمتك التي أنعمت علي وعلى والدي وأن أعمل صالحا ترضاه وأدخلني برحمتك في عبادك الصالحين. ربي أوزعني أن أشكر نعمتك التي أنعمت علي وعلى والدي وأن أعمل صالحا ترضاه وأصلح لي في ذريتي إني تبت إليك وإني من المسلمين. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Mention your intentions for coming for the class. Fatiha. Alright, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Oh, it's not permanent. Okay. Let me check. Alright, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, you all okay? Alright, Alhamdulillah. We are going to continue with our class. Any questions from last week? I know I've not sent out the dua for cooking. Later I'll send. Okay, because I don't know. I just forgot all about it. Okay. Alright, so we will continue. Right, with the poem. Right, today inshallah we will enter into the early stages. Right, and the early stages. Last week we spoke about the parents. Right, because there is no use speaking about how you're going to bring up good children if you yourself you don't know how to even handle yourself. Right, so if you don't start from within, right, it will not show onto your children. Right, so I mean if there's, and of course all of these things, all of this entire affair of bringing up children is just your efforts. Right, you try your best, and then whatever happens, happens. Right, but at least on the day of judgment, you can say to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala that you tried your best and you did all that you could within your knowledge and your ability, right? And not that you neglected them, right? Because there will come on the day of judgment when Allah Subhanahu wa Taala raises all human beings. There will be of children who will say to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, Ya Allah, cause him to go to waste as he caused me to go to waste, right, in this world, right? So there will be this scene on the day of judgment, right? Oh Allah, give me my rights from this oppressor, and he will point to his own parents, right? So may Allah protect us from that. And of course, we want our children to grow up well. We want them, we want happiness for them in this world and the next world, right? But as we see in the stories of the prophets, sometimes things are not as we hope, right? But inshallah they'll be as we hope. right? But even prophets had bad eggs, like you would say, right? They had there's Nabi Nuh alayhi salam, his own son was a disbeliever. Nabi Yaqub, his sons were all believers, but they were problematic, right? They were basically the 10 sons who plotted to kill Nabi Yusuf, right? I mean, they didn't kill him, but they threw him to the well, right? So at least, like our children don't plot against each other. I mean, alhamdulillah, they don't kill each other. Right? So Nabi Yaqub had tests, right, when it comes to his children, and he had to handle his children correctly, right? And inshallah, as we go through the course, we will mention Nabi Yaqub's situation, right? Because in the prophets that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned in the Quran, actually there are many prophets, right, whereby Allah mentions a parent-child relationship between the two, right, and how these are handled, right? So you have the noble son in Nabi Ismail alayhi salam, right, whereby he spoke to his father, and the noble son Nabi Yusuf with Nabi Yaqub, right? And then you have this plotting and hateful sons of Nabi Yaqub who eventually did tawbah, right? They did repent from their deeds, and they came back, right? And of course you have all kinds of situations lah, whereby you can learn from, right, in this situation. Alright, so we are in the part of the poem, right, and I will just recite, and then we will continue from there, right? Min kitab سمت الإخيان شرح بغية الإخوان ورد السبيان سمت الإخيان للإمام بسودان ورد السبيان للإمام رملي نفعنا بهما بعلومهما في الدارين إلى أن قال هلا تمام. والأم لابنها تهدد بالأبي زجرا له عن الخنا واللعب إذ قلبه كشمعة المقصورة مجوهر يقبل كل سورة فينبغي لهم بأن يؤودوا أولادهم فعل التقى ليسأدوا وأول الأشياء هي الحضانة لأنه مع أهله أمانة ينبغي إرضاع كل طفل صالحة بقولها وفعل تأكل حلالا من الحرام فالطبع قالوا تابع الطعام إذا خبث رضاعهما لا إلى فعل الخبيث آخرا وأولا. تمام. Okay, we'll stop there. Right, so from I read from verse 12 to verse 17, right, and this is the beginning of pregnancy. We're going to go into pregnancy today, and also the beginning of a child's life, right? So before pregnancy, when at the point of conception, right, so it's a parenting course, it will, it will stretch from the entire thing, so from yourself. Last week we spoke about the parent, right, and I hope there has been improvement, right, for this past week. Every week you come to these classes. This is basically a book of action, right? It's not one of those classes whereby you just hear and I don't know, like what you all do in classes, right? But basically, this is a class of very much action, right? Every week there needs to be application, right? If you really want to climb lah in this path or go on this path towards Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, it is a class very strongly on action. So in the past week, right, and as mentioned in the past week, you don't go around trying to change anyone else except for yourself. Right? That's it. It's as simple as that. Life is just that. Right? You don't go around trying to change anyone except yourself. Right? And it is and the strong family unit is of the strongest rectification of society. If you want society to be rectified, you rectify yourself first. You rectify yourself, you rectify your children. Right? And when they are rectified, your family is rectified, and then society is rectified. Which is why the ulama say that rectify the woman. Right, because they give birth to the future generation. So if woman is rectified, then children are rectified, and when they are rectified, then the society is rectified. When women are corrupt, children are corrupt. When children are corrupt, then that's it. The whole society is corrupt. Right, and also when women are not present, right, with their children, when they're not present, right, and you read as many books as you want lah. But at the end of the day, when it comes to education, human to human is the best. And it comes to education, especially to create, to build a proper human being, right? Human to human. There is no way around it, right? As many devices as you want to throw at them and whatsoever, it is not the same as human to human. Right? Human to human is the best. Right? Whoever she is, Alright, so here, the first thing, right, that is mentioned here. So when you at conception, right? It is sunnah, right, encouraged that before a husband bees with his wife, right, before the husband and wife comes together, it is highly recommended that you pray 2 rakats. Right, I mean, if you're able to lah, if you feel like you might not be suitable, right, to pray 2 rakats there and then, right, that after Isha, right, you pray 2 rakats of sunat hajat, right, and this sunat hajat you doa that if I am to sleep with my husband tonight, then if Allah gives us of children, right, then make this child a righteous child, right. So this is what it is to do lah. Right, to do and pay attention lah, especially if you're not on your menses, right? If you're on your menses, of course lah, but if you're not on your menses, then after Isha, make it a habit. Right? Make it a habit. If I'm with my husband tonight, then if Allah gives us a righteous child, then if Allah gives us a child, then make him righteous. Right? So 2 rakats sunat hajat, and then make as many good intentions as you can for that child. And this is the path of Hannah. Hannah is the mother of Sayyidina Maryam. She's the mother of Sayyidina Maryam. Right? So she is the wife of Imran. Right? So she and Imran, basically the story, and I'll go into the story a bit, because in lessons, to go into the stories of these people, that's where you really understand, right, correct or good parenting. Right? So basically, Imran, right, he was married to this woman named Hannah. She had a sister, right? And both her and her sister, both of them, they were barren for a long time. Right, so they had no kids for a long time. Both her and her sister, right, they were barren. Her sister is married to Nabi Zakaria. So you see the tree, right? So Nabi Zakaria, right, and Imran, right, they have their wives are sisters. Okay, so Maryam eventually, Siti Hannah, she eventually became pregnant, right, and she was so sure the child was a boy. She was so sure. Right, and so sure it was a boy that she vowed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that the child in her womb be at his service. Right, so from here, like Hababa, she would say, here we take the sunnah of the solihin, right, the sunnah of the pious, that the moment you find out that you are pregnant, right, don't panic, or don't whatever, right, or don't, and some of the ulama even say, don't even inform people. Don't tell people. That is the adab, right, of pregnancy. Don't tell people. At least up till the 4th month. Right, the 4th month, when the soul has entered into the body of the child, then you can begin to inform people. I myself was told, right, that if it happens to me, don't tell anybody. Right, and also even my mother, even your mother. Right, so I mean, that is an instruction to me lah. Right, so even my mother. I was like, whoa, my mother. It's a bit hard lah. It's a bit hard, right? But then there's the thing. There's the adab. The adab is adab, right? Because the thing about it is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed a child in your womb, but the ruh has not come. So you don't know if it has been written for the ruh to come or not. You don't know. Right, so the adab is not to tell anyone. Of course, your husband has to know lah, right? But then, I mean, or you keep him in the dark also, Nobody knows. Right, men also, they don't even notice that you're having your menses, not menses, whatever, right? They just kind of blur about it, right? But my husband, I mean, Allahu Alam, right? Allahu Alam. We don't say anything about men, right? So basically, the adab is that you don't tell, right? So don't post on Facebook. Don't tell the whole world, right, about the situation, because one thing, the adab is that you keep it private until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent down the ruh. Right, so now you have a human being inside of you. Before that, it is alive, right, but without a soul. Okay, so that's the adab first thing. And then, we will go into the adab of the day whereby, or the week whereby you suspect this is the week whereby the soul comes. Because the pious of the past, and this is one, when I was saying this in Tarim, you hear so many gems of what people used to do to welcome the ruh. Right, because we never think about it, that the ruh is about to come from paradise. It was with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's going to come with the angel. It's a sahih hadith, the hadith is sahih, it's in Imam Nawawi's 40 collection. The hadith goes that, or some says that each and every one of you, right, you are made in the wombs of your mother, right, 40 days as a fluid, right, 40 days as a lump, right, and 40 days as a clot. Right, and then at this 40th day, that means 40, 120, so that is 4 months, correct? Right, for 4 months, about say. At the end of the 4th month, the angel comes with the soul. right? And he blows the soul into this clot, right? This fetus, right? It blows. So now it is a human being. Now it is a human being, right? And then at this point, it will be written for him for affairs, right? His ajal, that means how long he will live. It is written for him, right? His amal, right? His deeds in this world, it will be written for him. His risk is written for him, and his end, whether he will end as someone who is blissful in this world and the next, or he will end as a wretched person in this world and the next, right? And then hadith goes, it's a very scary hadith, like the hadith goes that, and it could be that any one of you, right, live his life doing the deeds of the people of paradise, such that there is nothing between him and paradise except for an arm's length. And then the book overtakes him, this book, when he was in the mother's womb, it overtakes him, and he does one deed of the people of the hellfire and enters into it. And then the hadith goes, and it could be that one of you does a deed of the people of hellfire until there is nothing between him and the hellfire except for arm's length, a palm's length. And and the book overtakes him, right? And he does one deed of the people of heaven, and he enters into it. Right? The pages, the lines have been written, the pages have dried. Right? It means it's done. Right? So what the ulama they used to do is they used to anticipate this day, whereby the soul comes. They used to anticipate, right? And they will spend the night in prayer, both husband and wife. Right? They will be up. So you can't really target, because unless you know exactly what day you conceived. Right, and you can count from there, right? But if you're not so sure which one it was, like what day you conceived, right? You kind of like guess lah, right? You kind of guess around which part of the month, or so in your, or maybe the whole of the 4th month. Okay, the whole of the 4th month lah, right? That you make it a point that you stand up in the night and pray, and you ask Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala to send down to your child a righteous soul. Right. And this is real, because my mother Subhanahu Wa Taala, of course it's real because it's from the hadith. My mom Subhanahu Wa Taala, my mother, she said that she had a friend who aborted her child before the 4th month. Right. And whether or not this dream was a real dream or just her conscience, right? But she dreamt in a dream, right, that the soul of the child came to her. Right, because she destroyed the body. Right? She aborted the child, she destroyed the body. So she dreamt that the soul came to her and said that, "Oh mother, I came down, I couldn't find my body." So she woke up crying because so it's subhanallah. But it's in the 4th month, it happened in the 4th month. The soul came to her, right, and then just like blame her lah, like, what do you do to my body? Right? So by Allahu Alam, these are situations. So the mother of, so this is one of tarbiyah, right? Before you even sleep with your husband, there is this adab of praying 2 rakats. There is a dua, oh Allah, keep shaitan away from us, and keep whatever you're going to provide us with away from shaitan. Right, so so this is all protections for your children. And then the mother of Sayyidatina Maryam, right? When she found out she was pregnant, right? Finally, after so long, she was pregnant. She vowed the child to the service of Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. Very, very sure it was a boy, right? Because if it was a girl, it would be a bit harder to be of service at Baitul Maqdis. Right? Basically, what she meant was be the imam. Right, be the imam of service to the people at Baitul Maqdis. That's what she meant. So if it was a girl, it would be hard lah. You cannot be an imam for the people. Right, you have to be a boy. So the ulama say from this incident, it is sunnah. It is sunnah for parents that the moment you find out you are pregnant, right, you make intentions for this child. Right, and intentions make it lofty of the akhirat. Right, don't intend I want him to be a doctor, lawyer, engineer. Like, don't do that. Don't do that. Right, the dunya doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what he is in this dunya. Doesn't matter. Right? As long as he is successful in his akhirah. So you make intention that he be of benefit to the people. You make intention that he be of people of the Quran. That he memorizes the Quran. That he carries the Quran to the people. That he holds up the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That he helps me be a better Muslim. Like, that my child, be a blessing onto the family, right, and not a curse onto this family. Right? So in a sense, you make your intentions, right, when the moment you find out you are pregnant, and Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala will give you as you intended, as He gave the mother of Maryam. So the mother of Sayyidatina Maryam, she made this intention, thinking so sure that she's going to have a boy. And when she gives birth, guess what? It's a girl. Right? It's not a boy. And she's already made the vow. She vowed the child, she vowed the child to be of service. But Allah gave her intention. Allah gave her intention in the son of Sayyidatina Maryam, which is Nabi Isa alayhi salam. So she got her intention. right, through Nabi Isa. Right, because by right, Sayyidina Maryam, basically she gave birth to two lah, Right, but one came after the other. Right? Basically, because after Sayyidina Maryam, she was not married, and she became pregnant with Nabi Isa, and she gave birth. So, like, all of them came back to who? To Hannah. Right, she was the one who gave birth, and she made that very strong intention, and from there, Allah gave her intention in Nabi Isa alayhi salam. Right, and from there, Nabi Ibrahim, same thing also. Nabi Ibrahim, when he made the Kaaba at Mecca with his son Nabi Ismail, right, and then he made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He told, Ya Allah, I am placing my seed here, because Nabi Ismail is to be left here. I am placing my seed here, right? So send to them, the people who will be at Mecca, send to them a prophet, right, who will read to them their signs and guide them and teach them your book. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Nabi Ibrahim his dua in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who came later on. Right, so that Rasulullah is, and he would say in the hadith, I am the dua of my father Ibrahim. Right, and he named his last son, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he named his last son Ibrahim. Right, and he said, I have gotten a son in the night, and I have named him after my father. Right, Ibrahim alayhi salam, his many years ago lah. Right, so they are basically secrets, right, of the pious as to how they, the whole thing before even getting to the issue of how do I raise this child. Right, before that, the entire spiritual journey before that, right? So here, so making of good intentions, right? And okay, so now a woman is pregnant, right? So the adabs of pregnancy. Right, so the first time you found out you're pregnant, right? You don't go around announcing to the whole world, okay? Right? Keep the adab lah, keep it secret. And in fact, if you can keep it secret for as long as you want, you can. And I've even asked Baba Nur that, so I asked her myself, right? I asked her, if let's say I'm pregnant, I'm only like 1 month pregnant. Because then I was reading this book, you ask the questions. So I said, like, what if someone asks you point blank, are you pregnant? And people do that. Right? It's none of their business. Right? But they do that. Even like some random person you've never spoken to her much at all, you go to a wedding, you're never close to her. Right? And they ask you point blank, right? They just ask you, are you pregnant? And then you like what's your business, eh? And if you say inshallah, that means it's yes. Right, basically, I asked Hawa Nur, if someone asks you, right, are you pregnant? Right, and you don't want people to know that you are pregnant, especially people who are afraid of the ayn, mata. You're afraid of mata. She said that because it's none of their business, right, you can say no. You can actually say no, right, because it's none of their business. They should not be asking. Right, or you can just ignore them altogether. just turn away and change the subject. Like don't bother answering. But she said that when people ask you things that is none of their business, and I've had my friends who's like, people are kepo, They just ask things like, hey, your husband had a second wife, is it? And my friend, actually, her husband had a second wife, but she's like, not even a close friend, Like, why do I have to answer that? Right? I mean, people, they don't know the adab. Maybe we have come to society, but there is no adab. Right? And it is not adab to ask someone point blank if she's pregnant. Unless you can see clearly she is pregnant. Right? Because sekali she's not pregnant, how? And then she's just fat. Like, you just insulted her. Now, right? It's ask her that she's pregnant or not, and she's just fat. Right? And you're going to make her upset after that. And there's no point in doing that. Right? So just, just tell the people, it's not nice to go around asking unless someone tells you. And even if people don't tell you, it's fine. Right? You don't have a right, you're not entitled to know everybody's business. Even if no one tells you they're pregnant, it's fine. Don't be insulted, right? Or offended she didn't tell me. Like, Allahu A'lam. Right, so anyway, so the first thing when you're pregnant, right? First thing, jaga your tongue. You need to guard over your tongue, which is why at this moment, before you actually get to the point of pregnancy, you need to start to train your tongue to only say what is good. And there's a hadith about Rasulullah says that say what is good or keep quiet. Right? Only what is good or keep quiet. It's one or the other. Not, so if you have a sharp tongue, if you like to talk back to your husband, if you like to lash out, if you like to whatever lah, if your tongue is so sharp, right, or your messages are very sharp, you better start training now. Because when you're pregnant, the hormones are raging, right, and then you become like a crazy woman. I mean, it's true. Right, women, and we all know, when you're pregnant, you're not you. You become very agitated, you become easily angered, you're frustrated lah, basically, because hormonal changes. And it's understandable. Right, but before that happens, the training is going on now before the pregnancy. Right, and so when the pregnancy happens, at least you are of some control, right, over your own tongue. At least know when to shut up. Okay, know when to hold the tongue. Right, because that affects your child. Your words on your tongue affects your child. Right, learn how to just go into salawat when you're very angry. Right, at the point of high anger, agitation, just learn, train yourself now. Train yourself, right? That your tongue goes into salawat, goes into istighfar, goes into something, right? So at the point of pregnancy, you are trained, right? So that you won't be so teruk, right? When you, I don't know whether you all agree with me, but then for me, right? Can you all give me a yes? Yes, that happens when you're pregnant. I think almost every woman that I know, when they are pregnant, the husband gets very tested. Very tested, and the marriage is very tested, right? When a woman is going through pregnancy, right? The marriage is the highest. It is the most strained part. Thereafter also got strained, right? But pregnancy is, because she gets very. It's understandable. Of course, it helps if the husband understands that you are going through severe emotional and hormonal changes, and you cannot even control yourself. You don't even know how to control yourself, right? But if we don't have husbands who understand, right? Then it's on us lah, to really try, just try, right? Wudu, don't forget your wudu. Be in wudu as much as you can when you are pregnant, because angels draw close to you when you have wudu. When you don't have wudu, right? And in pregnancy is a time whereby you can't be in wudu all the time because you have no menses. Right, so it's the best time to just be always in wudu. Of course, I know pregnancy makes your wudu break all the time. Right, it's forever broken wudu. Broken, ya Allah. Asyik batal, Right, but try. Right, in fact, I even checked before, right, about, if you want to go on the side of a different madhab, just to be in wudu. But not for prayer, For prayer, you take your Shafi'i wudu. Right, but in the Maliki madhab, right, this is only for this. In the Maliki madhab, discharge does not break your wudu. Basically, discharge is nothing. It's nothing in the Maliki madhab. Right, so if you take a Maliki wudu, if you know what it is, a Maliki full wudu, you can basically be in wudu lah. Right, but I would just say that when you want to pray, take your own normal Shafi'i wudu, right, and pray as normal. Right, but I would do that when I was studying, because I like to be in wudu when I study, but my husband likes to study next to me. So, if your husband is next to you, most likely terkena batal. Right? No. Take the Hanafi wudu, right? That's what I did. That's what I used to do. Take the Hanafi wudu for studying. But then when I want to pray all that, I'll take the proper Shafi wudu. But this is basically, you need to know lah. You need to know how to do Hanafi wudu lah, Shafi wudu lah, Maliki wudu lah. Right? But if you have no idea all these things, it's okay. Just take a normal wudu. Right? Take a normal wudu. Then whenever you can renew it, you renew it lah. Right? Or whenever you can take it when you batal. Basically, do what you can. Right, don't be so hard on yourself about it, right? But don't be so lax on yourself about it, right? Don't think that it's nothing to be in wudu, right? Wudu, it is the silah, right? It is the weapon of the believer, right? So you want your child to be protected, you be in wudu, right? The entire time. It also keeps your emotions in check, wudu. Right? It's all secrets, it's all secrets. Emotions in check, it keeps the angels around you. Good whispers come to you because you have wudu. Right? All the shaitanic whispers come to you stronger when you don't have wudu. Right? So all secrets that people of the past understood. People of today, we look for solutions, but we neglect all these parts. We neglect our zikr, we neglect our Quran, we neglect our wudu, we neglect all this, all neglected. Sunnah of Rasulullah, all neglected. Right? And then why is my child like a monster? Like the whole time, the entire adab was neglected. Right? So now, alhamdulillah, we know the importance of wudu. And as the ulama, they say, the sign of a true believer is that he protects his wudu. The sign of a true believer, The sign of a true believer is that he guards over his wudu. So whenever break wudu only, go and take wudu lah, if it's easy for you. Right? I know for pregnant women, it is not easy. Right, I know, because you batuk ni, kencing. Or something. You cough a bit, something comes out. Khalas. Right. So just whatever you can. As far as you can, don't take it lightly, nor make it impossible for yourself. Right, but whatever you are able to. Right. So wudu is one thing in pregnancy. Right. So and there was a story, right, about two students who was with the sheikh. And the sheikh noticed that one student, right, he memorized Quran faster than his peer. Right? And he asked, and then his peers, like, he was like exceptional in his memorization of the Quran. So the sheikh asked him, like, what's your secret? Like, how come you're able to memorize so quickly? Right? And the student said that, well, what I know, right, is that when my mother was pregnant with me, right, she used to be in wudu all the time. Right? And she used to recite the Quran whenever she was free. Right, so whenever she had time, she would just recite Quran. And you don't even have to take the Quran and recite it in front of you. You can just go on and on with Ayatul Kursi, whatever you know lah. Right, with Qul Huwallahu Ahad. Qul Huwallahu Ahad is 1/3 of the Quran. So you can just do many of that. Right, so reciting Quran, right, even if it's not with you, you can recite what you know of the Quran. Right, and because you're pregnant, you probably not having your menses, you can recite anything. And I would highly recommend Ayatul Kursi. Just do Ayatul Kursi over and over and over and over and over again. Rub over your child. Right? Inshallah, as we go into labor, right, there is a hadith about Rasulullah SAW. He commanded two of his wives to go to Sayyidina Fatimah Zahra when she was in labor. Right? And all of the things he commanded them to read to her was Ayatul Kursi. Right? So Ayatul Kursi is one thing it protects. Right? Ayatul Kursi, it is the greatest ayat in the Quran. Without any competition. It is from a hadith, is the greatest ayat in the Quran. Right? So if you really feel, I'm struggling in the Quran, I don't know. If you have not memorized Ayatul Kursi, it's a good time to memorize Ayatul Kursi. Right? It's an ayat that you really, really, you want to memorize. You want to memorize Ayatul Kursi. Right? I've met many kids who are teenagers. Right? It's our society lah, whereby they have not memorized Ayatul Kursi. Right? So you teach your kids also Ayatul Kursi, because it is the surah of protection, the ayat of protection. It protects everyone in this world and the next world. Ayatul Kursi. Right. So rub over your belly and mention Ayatul Kursi. Right. If not salawat, if not La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah shahada over and over again, something. Right. Something. The ulama, they go so far as to say that, just to be as merciful to pregnant mothers as possible. Because I know the ulama, they know you all are tired. Right. Basically, pregnancy from the first day to the last day is just tiredness, and then give birth pun tired also. It's just the beginning of a very long journey of exhaustion, like until the child becomes 21 years old. Also, it's basically, that's what it is. It's a long journey of exhaustion, right? This is why there are secrets to help you out. Right? So they say that of the secrets, if you're really so tired, your mind blank, just blank, you can't even do anything, right? So at least have a picture of the Kaaba in your room. At least picture of Kaaba. A picture of Masjid Nabawi. Something that is of beauty, right, of the religion. Allah's name. Ayatul Kursi in your room, besar-besar, right, very big. Just gaze. Gaze you can. You can gaze. You fall asleep, right? But at least you're doing something. Right? At least you're doing something while the child is inside of you. Because when the child is inside of you, that is the strongest way by which you influence your child. There is no stronger way. Because the moment they leave you, you're not the only influence. Right? Everything around them is going to be influenced onto them. Right? And as they grow older, it gets stronger. All the external influences. And you will get weaker and weaker as an influence. So the strongest time whereby you are an influence onto them is when they are still in you. That's why the ulama say, as far as you can, go to majlis. As far as you can. Because at majlis, right, this kind of like good majlis, you are one thing surrounded by angels. Right, they are here. At any majlis whereby Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioned, angels come and they flock. Right, and they surround the majlis and they make a pillar up to the skies and they seek forgiveness for the people who are in the majlis. Right, so subhanallah. And after the majlis, inshallah, right, when we finish our majlis, dua mustajab. Your du'as are accepted. So you raise your hand, you dua for your child as much as you can. So the more you do this the more, don't waste your time. You have 9 months, right? 9 months. This is the strongest time, right? The most important time for you to focus on this child, right? Spiritually, right? So whatever I have given you, I hope there's one thing in there that you can at least hold on to. Right? If you find Quran too difficult, selawat. Find selawat too difficult, gaze at Kaabah. If you find gazing at Kaabah too difficult, I'm not sure what else to suggest. Right? That must lah. Say Allah, Allah, Allah. Right? If you find that too difficult, say the word Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because at labor also, right, there are hadiths by the or things by the ulama as to what do you say when you are in labor, right, for the child. You're like 3 kids out already, eh? Now you tell me. Okay, and also, so I asked Hababa before also, because when she was teaching this, I mean the Westerners who were learning this, okay lah, 90% of them already had all their kids lah. Semua dah keluar, alamak. Right, she was saying that your regret, right, or your wish that had you known this, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you as you intended. Okay, so Allah is all merciful lah. So don't give me the alah, semua dah keluar dah. Right, don't think that. Right, that had you known this when you were pregnant, you would have done all of this. Right, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you as you would have done, right, had you known. Right, He will give it to you, inshallah. Right, so Muhammad. Alright. So that's what he was saying, about the child who memorized faster because the mother was doing a lot of Quran, right, when she was pregnant with him. Of course, okay, of the Quran, I'm going to give you some tips about Quran, right, recommendations, right, you do as you can. Right, of course, those who are, you're confident, you're fluent in the Quran, the moment you find out that you're pregnant, start the Quran and aim to khatam by the time you give birth. Okay, to do 1 khatam. Right, because khatam, at the end of every khatam of the Quran, the du'as are accepted, very strongly accepted. Right, so you aim 9 months, right? Okay, easy lah, 30 juz kan. Can do. Right, so you aim, you pace yourself out. So, you aim lah by the 35th week or something. Hopefully there's no premature birth or anything lah. Right, but basically by the 8th month, 9th month, you khatam, you do a majlis khatam, right, in your house, right, and you make as much dua as you can. Right, if possible, together husband and wife, do it together, right, with the intention, right, that the berkat of this Quran, right, will cause all your duas for a righteous child to be accepted, and Allah will make this child a joy, right, to you in this world and the next world. Right, a joy for you in the next world is a great thing. Right, because the child will come, because there is a hadith about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that 3 deeds will not be cut off when you die, and one of which is a righteous child who makes dua for his parents after she has passed away. Right, so khatam of the Quran, if you're able to do it. If you find it hard on yourself, find people who can help you out with it. Right, so maybe your mother, your father, so you distribute the juice if you want to. If you find that you can't handle it yourself, if you can handle it yourself, it's better, because whatever you recite goes to your child straight away. The vibrations, the love of the Quran, the entire berkat of the Quran. Right, you are reading and the child is inside of you. The child is getting the vibrations, right, of the Quran. Right, so if you can, right, you do it, the whole thing. Right, of course, if you can't, then you distribute it amongst your family members. Right, but don't underestimate the Quran. And you see the non-Muslims, right? Non-Muslims, when they are pregnant, they have they play Mozart and they do all the dunyawi stuff, and they're so into about it. Right? And then we Muslims, right, we have an entire akhirah to think about. Right? So all the more we need to be firm on this and hold on to this and give our children the best that we can, right, of this religion. Right? And then of the surahs to read, right? Surah Taubah is one surah that you could read. Surah Yusuf. I know Surah Yusuf, people say, who read Surah Yusuf, your child will be handsome, right, or beautiful, right? Right, but you need when you read Surah Yusuf to get a child with beautiful character. It's more important than to have a beautiful face. You need, because Nabi Yusuf had a beautiful character. And Nabi Yusuf, more than anything, of course he was a handsome man, Nabi Yusuf, very handsome. Right? But more than anything, Nabi Yusuf was a man of beautiful character. Right? So Surah Yusuf, Surah Luqman. Right? Surah Yasin every day. At least once, if not twice. Surah Yasin needs to be read. Okay, every day. Yeah, that's about it. And then some of the ayats I given you out in the first lesson, those ayats for righteous children, right? So all of these things, make sure you're doing them, right? Then later on, you can wonder why your kids are behaving the way they are, right? If you're not doing all of these things, right, then you know why they are like that, right? Because all of these things are not being done, right? So focus, and also I know it can be overwhelming, but choose what you can, right? Choose what you can, right? And the mother plays a very strong role in her children and her descendants. There's a story of this girl in the time of Sayyidina Omar's time. If you all know the story of the milk, the girl and the milk. Right, so because Sayyidina Omar, he was once out, and he was the Khalifa. He was the caliph of the Muslims at that time. So Sayyidina Omar, he was the man who never slept, because he was once asked, "Ya Amirul Mu'minin, all leaders of the believers, why don't you sleep?" Like, he never sleeps. So he says, if I sleep in the day, right, the ummah, the people, right, they will be lost. They will be wasted because I'm asleep. And if I sleep at night, then Omar will be wasted. Right? Omar will be lost. Right? I will be lost. So I need a night for my prayers, not to fall asleep, And in the day, I need to attend to the people's affairs. And so I cannot sleep in the day. And so, but what he used to do, and when he was a caliph, he used to walk around Medina, right, to people's, just to see the state of the Muslims, to see if he's doing his job, right? So there was one time whereby he walked past a house and he overheard a conversation between mother and daughter. Now we know this story, right? But what happened after that? So basically, he had this conversation whereby the mother tells the daughter, right, mix water into the milk, so we have more volume of milk and we can sell more milk, and nobody will know the difference because it tastes the same, right? Milk, fresh milk from the goat and milk mixed with water, more or less the same. And so it's going to make it so diluted lah, basically. Let's mix a bit to make it more, right? And the girl said, no, mother, because the Khalifa, right, Sayyidina Umar, he has said we cannot do so. It's called cheating. Like, it is cheating. We can't do so. And then the mother said, well, is Omar here? And she was in the house, and Sayyidina Umar was outside hearing, like, through the wall. He was hearing it through the wall. So the mother said, is he here? And then she said, well, he's not here, but the God of Omar is here. That means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching us. So I won't do it. So Sayyidina Umar, he was impressed with this girl. Right? So he put a mark on the door to know which house it was. The next day he came back, right, with one of his sons who was not married. Straight away, this one sign, this one is a good catch. you find a good girl, catch her straight away. So he brought one of his sons who was not married. And then he knocked on the door, and then he came in and he told them what happened last night and everything lah. So the mother was like, no, we repent on our actions and whatsoever. He said, no, that's not the issue. What I want to do now is that I want to wed my son to your daughter. Does she accept? Right? So of course the daughter accepted lah. Right? And they got wed. The story does not end there. This pair, right, they gave birth, they had a child who was Sayyidina Umar bin Abdul Aziz. If you know who that is, right, that is one of the greatest righteous caliphs of the Islamic Empire. Right, he is the great grandson of Sayyidina Umar, and he came from the line of a woman, the girl, who was righteous. So her taqwa, right, her consciousness of God subhanahu wa ta'ala, the scholars say it was her, together with Sayyidina Umar's genes, right, came together and produced Sayyidina Umar bin Abdul Aziz. Right, so so subhanallah, so don't underestimate, right, the righteousness of the mother, right, how it can go through, right, and there is another story about a man also, can't remember his name, one of the righteous, whereby he was walking along. This is to show the importance of parents, the importance of parents. He was walking along and he saw an apple floating in the river, right, so he bent down, he picked it up and he ate it, and then it occurred to him, he has no clue whose apple this is, right, that he just ate. So he followed the river, right, upstream to see where the apple came from. So he arrived at there was a wall, and there was an apple tree that leaned out of the wall, and the apple must have fallen from that tree lah. So he saw the tree belonged to this person, to this entire compound whereby the tree was in. So he said, oh no, this apple actually belongs to somebody. Right, so I have to now redeem myself lah. So he went to the door of the house, right, and he knocked, of his garden lah. He knocked, and then a man opened, and he said, I ate this apple that I found on the stream, right? And I realized that it's not mine, and I didn't buy it. So and I realized that it came from your tree. Can you forgive me, right, for what I have taken of yours that is not mine? That I taken unrightfully. Then the man looked at him, and the man said, I will not forgive you, right, unless you work for me for a full year. Right, for a full year, work on my farm. So this man has so much taqwa, so much fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he ate something that was not halal for him. He said, okay. He just agreed. Okay, I'll be a worker for one whole year for the bite of apple that I took. Right, so he worked. You're like, subhanallah. After a full year, this man came again and said that, I have still not forgiven you. You are to work for another year. Right, so the man was like, okay, if that is going to get me redeemed of my sin, I'll work another year. A full year passed, and the third year, the man came to him, the owner of you're like, subhanallah, who is going to do this kind of thing, right? The owner of this is a real stories, real stories, because the one who came out of this story, he is Sheikh, I forgot his name. Is that Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jalani or no, another wali. Right, so basically he's a product of this story. Okay, anyway, so the third year, the man came to him again, and then the man said, I have still not forgiven you. Work for another year, and then we will see. Right, so he worked for another year, and at the end of the third year, the man came to him and said, I will only forgive you if you marry my daughter, who is deaf, dumb, and blind. So this man, he's just, he's desperate to be forgiven. He's desperate, right? Because he's never eaten anything that is haram. Right? And this is the taqwa that they have, the strong belief in eating, and this will go into our thing today also, about eating what is halal, right? So he said, okay, fine, whatever whatever it takes for you to forgive me. So deaf, dumb, and blind daughter also can, deaf, dumb, and blind daughter, right? So on his wedding night, so the man nikah him to his daughter. He's not seen the daughter at all. On his wedding night, when he entered into the room of the woman, he saw a very beautiful woman who was perfect. There was nothing wrong with her. She was not deaf, dumb, or blind. So he ran out of the room. He thought, wrong room. So he entered the room, another woman can. So he was like, then he ran out of the room. So then the guy said that, why did you run out of the room? The woman in there is not deaf, dumb, and blind. It's not my wife. My wife is supposed to be deaf, dumb, and blind. Right? So he said, no, that is your wife. Right? That is my daughter. She is deaf because she's deaf to all of sins. And she is blind because she's blind to all of sins. And she is dumb because she does not see anything that is of sin. And she's a protected woman. So fine. Right? So, so that he was bad to her. Right? And the thing was that from there, they gave birth to whoever remembers the story can tell me, who was the alim that was born from them? Who was it? As your dad. If I'm not wrong, I think it's Syekh Abdul Qadir Jalani came from him, or Imam Malik, one of the great scholars of Islam. Right, so basically their child was a great scholar of Islam. Right, from a man, because basically this owner of this garden, when this man came up to his door to seek forgiveness for taking a bite of the apple, straight away he saw a good man. Catch. So, but basically his daughter was too young. The daughter was too young to get married. So he was waiting for the daughter to get older. So he kept the man hostage. He kept the man captive in his own garden, working for him every year, hoping that the man would stay so that I can wed you to my daughter. But that is what people of the past used to do. They used to see people of caliber, and caliber meaning of the next world, of caliber, and they would choke for their own children. Right, Sayyidina Omar, like this man, the man of the owner of the garden. So we know this story, but we've never seen from the point of view as a father looking out for his daughter for a good match. So if a man comes to your door and he's sorry about a bite that he took, he has taqwa. This man, he has good taqwa. Right, get him for your daughter. Right? So now we understand the 3-year thing. Like her daughter was too young. Right, he was waiting for her to grow older. These are all stories, right? That it teaches us. Right, that we as human beings, as parents, you really want good for your child. You really have to buck up, especially in your pregnancy. Right, so if you are watching, and whatever you eat goes to your child. Right? So don't be of those people. I heard people who say, oh, I'm pregnant, I can eat whatever I want to eat. I'm going to go to a buffet. I'm going to like gorge myself. I'm going to just go on a spree, like whatever. Eat whatever I want to eat. That's not the way. That's not the way. Because your child is at your mercy. Your child. Sabit bin Nu'man. Sabit bin Nu'man. Okay, so the man was the child that came from them, is it? Sabit bin Nu'man. Tamam. So, what's his name? Muhammad. Yeah. So as the parents, right, you are now responsible over the child that is in your womb. The moment you get pregnant, you are now responsible, right? And the mother even more so, because whatever you consume, your child will be forced to take, right? So now you have a big responsibility. It's a very big responsibility. So you make sure you don't eat shubuhat. Make sure what you eat is pure, halal, tayyib, is good halal food, right? So at least fresh food. If you want, cook your own food, right? Don't go out there eat all the macro foods, right? Try lah for 9 months. Can you just be healthy? Be healthy in your eating, right? If and of course, when you go and you speak to both specialists and all that, they will say stay away from sugar, right? Sugar is detrimental on your what do you call it? On your contractions, on your contractions, on your labor, the entire thing. Sugar destroys, right? How much you can expand. Your dilation, basically. Sugar is really, really, really terrible on pregnant women. Stay away from sugar, right? Honey is very heaty. Don't eat honey when you are pregnant. Honey is heaty, right? So I have had a friend who was pregnant early in the early months. She ate a lot of honey directly. Honey, if you don't eat honey, you must mix it with water to release the heat. Then you eat. But if you eat directly, it is hot. Right? So for some women, it can cause miscarriage. Right? So just be careful of honey. Right? Don't swap yourself honey straight into the mouth. Mix it with water first. Right? It is more recommended than to just do the other way around. Right? So what you feed yourself of food. Right? So remember, you have 4 aspects to control of yourself. Right? Your physical aspect, whatever you're feeding yourself now is going to go to your child. If you are stuffing yourself with sugar, you're making the child addicted to sugar. It's going to be a major problem when the child comes out. Right? If a child is addicted to sugar. Right? Don't stuff yourself with sugar. And of course, if you can, you have the self-control for the next 2 years of breastfeeding also. If you can lah. If you really can, this is like total lifestyle change. If you can, at least the water, switch to water, right? No more drinks. Drinks are not necessary at all, right? Water, drink water, right? Good water, just drink water, right? So the physical aspect, take care of what you put into your mouth, right? And of course, if you can, things that are barakah, things that are full of slawat, it will all, and intend all of these things, right, to be used to go and intend that only the good of these things enter your child. You just intend that, right? In case there is bad in there, there's shubhat in there, intend that it just goes out of you and not to the child, right? So make the intention. Intention is very strong. Yeah. The father's diet, we wish, but no, the father's diet does not affect the child. But coffee, caffeine as a whole is bad for children. So in you, out of you, right? Caffeine as a whole, that's why you have hyperactive children. Caffeine, like I had a friend, Nasim Tarim, subhanallah, she was a tea addict. And tea has more caffeine than coffee, Don't you know that? Do you all know that? Yes, it does. Right. Tea has more caffeine than coffee. Coffee is just nicer, right? But tea has more caffeine. So she used to be a heavy tea drinker. Every morning she has like 5 cups of tea. Every time she's free, whenever I tell her, it's just tea. Such a heavy tea drinker, this girl. And I was like, hey, you better cut down. You're pregnant. Because the time she was pregnant with a 3rd child. And then she's like, no, I can't. I just need my tea to get by. Right? But her other 2 kids were bouncing off the walls. Hyper. Her kids are hyper. And not normal hyper. They're hyper. Right? And really, you can bring it down to her addiction to tea. It can bring it down to that. And I told her, I think your kids are not controllable, because she would tell me, I can't go for classes. I can't, bring them anywhere, because they won't sit down. They go round and round and round and round and round. Right? I can't control them whatsoever. They just, bouncing off the walls. And I say, yeah, I think it's your tea. Because you're breastfeeding some more. It's all going to the kids. Right? And if you're not a tea drinker, for example, and you try drinking tea a bit, right, and then you straight away you will see a change in your child. You will see they will a bit more hyper or more awake or more caffeine. Caffeine affects. So try decaffeinated. Decaf. I don't know. I'm not a coffee nor tea drinker, so it's easy for me to say. I know, but if you are, then try to wean it off. Right, wean it off, limit it, remove it altogether, if you really can. Right, basically we need to be more healthy in our drinking. Right, but water is the best. Just keep to water. Just drink a lot of water. Zam-zam. Right. Whenever you read Quran for your child, have a bottle of water that is open. Right, the barakah will enter the water. This is something that was done even in time of Rasulullah, whereby water was wrapped into. So all of these things, right? But basically, it was, as I said, lifestyle change. It really calls for lifestyle change, right? And if you are finding your kids very hyper, then you just think that during your pregnancy, were you drinking caffeine or not? Were you or whatever? No, and then now they're just like this, right? But of course you can, undo it. Right? Sugar is really bad for children. I know they love it, right? But don't. As far as you can, natural sugar, right? In the fruits, honey, whatever, right? But sweets and chocolates, as far as you can. If it comes from somebody else, okay, somebody else give it to them. And even then, and people in Tarim, I will see them, they would confiscate. So only Friday they get one treat. Only Friday. So even when people give it, even when Hababa gives them a treat, the mother will take it and keep it in the bag. And then the child knows that this treat is not to be taken until Friday. Only Friday, one treat, choose one. So you end up never having to buy for them anything, right? Because people keep giving them stuff, right? And then and you control them, right, in a way . So the kids understood. Of course, from the very beginning they've been doing it, right? But now you can try. You will face tantrums. Right? You might face them going against what you're trying to do, right? But you stand your ground because sugar is a drug. Sugar is a drug. So you see them go crazy, right? Because sugar is addictive. One thing, tantrums, the worst of tantrums will come with the demand of sugar, because sugar is a drug. It is a drug on the body. It destroys the body, and it does destroy immunity. There's so much to say about sugar. There's so much out there you can read about sugar, right? So try your best, right, not to give them that. Dates, if you want, dates are good, right? It's full of vitamins, minerals, whatsoever. Get them used to this. If your child is not eating fruits, it's a very bad sign. If your child is not eating fruits. Like some children are naturally averse to, what do you call it? Esters. They're naturally averse to esters. Esters are basically parts of fruit, right? So some children are naturally averse to esters. And if you can see your child she's not that she doesn't want to be healthy, but she has a natural aversion. Some human beings have that. Right? They cannot smell esters. Right? They get very put off. Those children, right, mashallah. Those children, apples. Right, apples work for them. Apples, dates. Right, these two things. Right, but anything other than that, like melons, watermelon, durian, all of these things will make them hate fruits. Right, so if you can identify, I've seen kids, right, it is not their fault, but their natural makeup is that they are averse to esters. Right, it's a natural thing. You can read out about it. It's online. It's not all you can find online. And it's baca about it. So if you see your child like that, apples, dates. Right, don't force anything else on them, right? Because their physical being they cannot tahan, right? Esters, right? Okay, right. So the physical part, right? Yes. Medications. Of course, if your physician has said it's okay, of course, I would suggest to try to be as natural as possible, if you can. If you can be as natural as possible, right? So, like for example, if you can let the sickness take its course, right? So, for example, you have flu. Okay, flu. If you can just tahan flu will come and go. Right? It's not something that is detrimental. It will not kill you, right? And inshallah, it will not kill the baby, right? It's just flu, right? So if you can just run its course without medicine. Let your body cure itself, right? Headaches, Panadol actually makes it worse. Okay, Panadol is a painkiller. Painkillers don't cure. Painkillers just kill the pain. Right? They numb the pain. The pain is still there, right? And so in taking Panadol, it might make you even worse, because when you have a headache, right, what it means is that your body is trying to make you rest. The body is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created our system, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He knows best, right? So He has given us a fitrah, a natural state, that when you feel pain, right, the pain is basically the body talking to you. That's what pain is. Your body is telling you something. Right? So if, let's say, for example, you feel pain in your arm, right? So your body is telling you, don't use this arm for a while. I have to fix it for the time being. Use your other arm. So the body is saying, when you take painkillers on the arm, you will still use the arm while the arm is not okay. So basically muting your body. You're saying, shut up, I'm just going to use the arm. Right? Basically what you're saying. When your head has a headache, it could be dehydration. You can read on what causes headaches. So when you reverse that, the headache will go away. So for example, like for me, whenever I have a headache, I know I'm dehydrated. For me, that's what I know about myself lah. You can check out about yourself. So when I drink water, enough water, the headache goes away. So no Panadol, because I know my body is telling me you don't having enough water. Right? Have water, and then you are fixing yourself. Or when I have headache, or my flu is number one sign for me lah. Whenever I have flu, that means not enough sleep. I know, not enough sleep. Serious. Huh? All of us, right? Not enough sleep. So your body is saying that you are overexerting. You're overexerting. You need to find some sleep somewhere. Right? So find a pocket of time. Have good sleep. So basically, I would say stay away from painkillers, because they don't cure one thing, and they cause you to overexert. Because you are now in the dark about how your body is really. Understand? Yeah. So I would say that, but I'm not a doctor, right? But I'm a very strong believer in natural cures and natural medicines. Will it affect the child? Okay lah. If you, of course I know the doctors say it's okay, but I don't trust it. I'm saying my own opinion, up to you, right? But I personally don't trust taking all these things when you are pregnant. I personally don't trust. But you can read up about it lah. I won't comment, right? Because I'm not a person of that, right? But of course the doctors do say can, right? They say can, right? Yeah, I know. They say can to a lot of things, right? But as far as possible, don't. I would say as far as possible, don't. Right. Essential oils, also be careful. Some essential oils are not good for pregnancy. You better read up. Right? If you're an oiler, read up. Okay, don't think, oh, it's all natural, I can do whatever I want to do. No, some can cause miscarriage. Okay, so don't go all free about it. Right. Okay. Emotional health. Emotional health, it does, just now we mentioned about it, right? About zikir, about salawat, about ayatul kursi, about bringing down your energy. Your energy needs to be brought down. Okay, before pregnancy, while pregnant, be in wudu at all times. That's your emotional control. Because your anger when you are pregnant does go to your child. Unfortunately, it does. Right, so your anger, your depression, your hurts, your whatever lah, your emotional state very much goes to your child. Very much. Right, I mean, of course, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect them lah from your state. Right, but the pregnant woman does affect her child. Right, so as far as possible, of course, you can explain to your husband. Right, if you want, you can write a letter or something lah. Just say that, can you just for these few months, these 9 months, be as understanding as you can to me and make me as happy as possible. If you want a happy child, right, you need to make me don't agitate me, right, in a way. Just try to work things out with your husband, right, to try and let him make him understand that you want a happy child, a healthy, happy child. Your wife needs to be emotionally healthy, right, while she is pregnant. Of course, you work on yourself lah, right. So work on yourself. If you feel anger, of course, Rasulullah SAW has given us the cure, right, for anger, which is wudu. If you're tahan, then sit down. If you can't sit down, lie down. If lying down doesn't work, go and sleep. Right? When you sleep, inshallah, your anger will go away. Right? So let's try. Try about the anger thing. And it's all before. The book to the lines that we read today is about breastfeeding. Actually, it's all before even the birth of the child himself. All right, your intellectual is actually nothing much. Right? Nothing much about that. Right? But of course, you can read up. You can read up stuff about. Don't be lazy. Read up. Read about pregnancy. The West has good material about food, about nutrition, about exercises you can do, about all kinds of things. There's a lot out there, right? So just make sure that you're reading. Read up about vaccinations, right? Read up about all these things. Go and read about these things. Don't be someone who is, I didn't know. Like, why don't you know? You know how to read, right? Go and read. Okay, right. So we're all educated human beings. Right? So, alhamdulillah, Singapore has educated its population, right? And alhamdulillah, our government they have educated us. Right, so use your education. Go and learn. Get good sources. Get good books. Go and read. Right now, you are pregnant. If you are pregnant, you have young children. Yesterday, I gave you all links about screen time. Be in the know of your age. Right, we are in the age of digital media, educational programs, whatever. Right? Maybe our parents or our grandparents, they were not in the know. They were given the TV. They were given the radio, but they were not educated. So they just put us in front of a TV. Okay, watch. That kind of thing. We have no excuse. Right? We have no excuse. Go and learn. Right? How these things affect the child. Hear all the opinions out there. There are many, many opinions. Hear, and then you decide for yourself, what you feel is right for your child. So from the very beginning, you can set rules in the house. Right? So you don't have to, now they're so old, I have to set these rules and there's gonna be a rebellion straight away. Right? But if they're still young, below the age of 5, it's still not too late. In fact, at any age, right, you can always, because above the age of 5, you can try to reason. You can try to talk to them. You can try to slowly limit. Right? So if they have for me, I don't like it when I see kids have their own iPad. I don't have an iPad. Why do these kids have iPads? Right? But they, I don't, for me, what does a kid need from an iPad? Like, what does he need? To play a game? You have all kinds of books out there. Go and look in your books. Right? Go and play there are a lot of things for kids to do. And in fact, boredom, if you read all these books, boredom is good. Boredom is good for children to be creative. Right? To sharpen their mind. There are many articles and many books. I can go on and on about it. You can follow Sheikh Hamza's sister online. Her name is Elizabeth Hansen. She is a champion she's championing the education of children. Right, so she has many articles about it. She has all kinds of things that you can actually read up. Right, of course, she's very much into homeschooling. Right, you don't have to adopt homeschooling if you're not into it. Right, but she does speak about education a lot. Right, so while you're pregnant, go and find out all these things. Right, that you can, so that when a child grows up, you're at least in the know. Right, about all of these things. Your spiritual state as a pregnant woman. Right, guard basically whatever you take in goes to your child. Right, and your opening is not just your mouth. Right, a very strong window to the heart, and the heart pumps blood to the child is your eyes. And your eyes are very strong windows. Your ears are very strong windows, very open windows. Right, so stay away from any form of sin as far as possible. Because sin is darkness. That's what sin is. It's a dark spot. So when you're exposed to sin, the dark spot enters you. Right? And Allahu Alam, the scholars have said that it will affect the child. Right? So a woman who is pregnant, she spends her time watching haram stuff. All these romance things on TV, whatever kind of. I have no idea but all these movies, they have stuff that's there that is haram. Right? Just don't. I won't even give you an alternative. Just don't. It's on your child. Like when you do it, just imagine yourself with your child and your child's watching the same thing. Right? You don't want your child to be watching these things. Right? Even your 3-year-old, 4-year-old to see kissing and whatsoever. You don't want. Right? And then you hear your ears. Right? What are you listening to? So gossip, foul words. TV now is so foul. I don't even know why we're on TV anymore. It's so ugly, things on TV. Right? If you want, at least watch nature lah. If you want to watch TV so much, go and watch some documentary. At least you'll be filled with love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that love will beat in your heart and it will enter your child. If you can, watch, read about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Do something. Because whatever comes to your heart, it goes to your child. That is your spiritual, emotional protection to your children. Right? So you want them to love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the scholars say that whatever a person is fed upon, that is how he will be in the future. And so if you feed him with all this ma'asiyat, then if your child becomes like incredibly disobedient, right, then you know where's the source lah. But of course it's not all too late lah. I'm not saying that I'm not like coming here to tell you all like, oh, you're all like halas, like, no. Like, just to say that, these are things that are realities. Like, if you feel the regret, alhamdulillah, may Allah nullify, right, all the mistakes. May Allah nullify all of that, inshallah, alhamdulillah, and then give you what is better. Right, give you what is better. That is the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's never too late. And for as long as you're in this world, on this earth, it is never ever too late, right? For yourself, for your children, right? Okay. Any questions at this point? Yeah. The father? Oh, the father's source of income is questionable, Of course, that one generally, even without children, he needs to find a better source. He needs to find a better source. Right. Then, in that case, right, if he has not reached the understanding, for example, then you read over whatever income comes to you. Read Ayatul Kursi. Ask Allah, of course, basically you're in a situation, right? Don't have rida. Right? Don't be like, it's okay lah, it's okay. No. You read Ayatul Kursi over it, you read Surah Yasin over it, so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah, will remove the negative effects. And because of all this I have said here also, not just the husband, your own parents sometimes, your own in-laws, right? They feed children stuff, or they on the TV for your children. Basically, things are being given to your children that you have no control over, right? Because you live in your in-laws' house, for example, or you live in your parents' house, or the uncles, or the aunties, or whoever they are basically feeding your children stuff. This is after pregnancy, Like, while pregnant, you can control. Right? After pregnancy, basically, when these things happen, even from the husband, right, you read over it, and you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to remove the negative effects, the shubha and whatsoever, and to give the pure things. Because we live in the world where it's not easy lah. But try to dua that your husband loses his job and get a new job. Because if he won't quit, then get fired and get a new job. But full dua. Don't just lose a job. Right? Lose his shubhat job and he gets a better paying halal job. Make a very strong dua. Right? That inshallah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the giver of rizqi. He will give a heart that is sincere, without any doubt. Alright. Okay, so we will continue. Okay. So today's verses. Right, so that was pregnancy. So as you go along in your pregnancy, right, you keep on to your Quran. Guard your eyes, guard your ears, guard your tongue, right, guard your feelings. So many things to do. So tired. Right, so she's like that. 2 more weeks till she gives birth. She's like, yeah, so tired. Yeah, I know. I'm not pregnant. I'm never pregnant. But then I know. I've seen all my friends. It's tiring. It's very tiring. Right? I know. You all know. I don't tell you also. Right? But try your best. That's why I have a picture of the Kaaba somewhere in the house. Right? If your house doesn't have any ayat whatsoever, that's not good. Okay? Have some ayat. Somewhere. At least Allah's name somewhere. Rasul's name somewhere. In the house. Right? All of these things bring in the angels. Right? If you can't do it, get your husband to do it. Your husband not around, your mother-in-law. If you have a helper who can read Quran, that's awesome. Right? You get the helper to do it. Someone, or if not, just play on your phone. Okay? At least that we have. Just play it on your phone. Right? You all get the point, Do something. You have 9 months. 9 months to work on yourself and your baby before he comes out. Alright. Okay. So today's verse, right, the Shaykh goes on, he says that, so after speaking about the responsibility of the parents, right, onto the child, he goes into the first matter, right, The first matter, he says, right, وَالْأَوَّلُ الْأَشْيَاءِ هِيَ الْحَضَانَةِ لِأَنَّهُ مَعَ أَهْلِهِ الْأَمَانَةِ. Right, and the first matter, right, when the child comes out of the mother, it is the hadana. The hadana is nursing. Right, nursing is the first issue. Before we go into nursing, we will speak about the birth of the child. Right, for the birth of the child, as far as possible, the room that you have, I mean, in the past, they used to decide on a room to give birth in. Okay, now we all give birth in hospital, right? But, if anyone here is considering home birth, which is now like a trend happening, right? Now have daulas and whatsoever, kan? Right? If you're considering home birth, right, and you're confident about home birth, then the room that you have decided to give birth in, read Surah Baqarah in there every 3 days. Right? If you are deciding on home birth lah. Right? If you are not deciding on home birth and you want to go to the hospital, right? If you can, in the labor ward, get your husband to read Surah Baqarah. Otherwise you. Right? My cousin, she did it herself. And my dear, she said that she was at 6-hour labor, so she read the whole Surah Baqarah finish already. Because she memorized Quran. So she's like, just read the whole thing. Okay, now what? Read again, don't read again. And she told me lah. So I was like, Maria, not everybody's like you can just go there and tengah labor read Surah Baqarah. Right, but basically, if your husband's around, you can read Surah Baqarah. If not, Ayatul Kursi. Okay, Ayatul Kursi can handle. Right, Ayatul Kursi. Okay, that's the first thing about labor. Alright, this is from a hadith of Rasulullah SAW when he heard Sayyidina Fatimah Zahra was in labor. Like his daughter, Sayyidina Fatimah Zahra, she was in labor. He sent his wife, Sayyidina Zainab bint Jahash and Salama, right, to go to Sayyidina Fatimah Zahra and to read. And he said, when you go to her, read Ayatul Kursi. That's the first one. Read verse 54 of Surah A'raf. Right, it's a long verse. I will not quote it. It's a long verse. Verse 54 of Surah A'raf. And the last one, read verse 3 of Surah Yunus. All of these things is to ease the labor. Right, ease you in your labor. Right, of course, the ulama, they do say that if you have a book of hadith in the house, if you have a book of hadith in the house, then place the book of hadith on the tummy of the mother. Right, because you can't put Quran. If you put Quran, the mother, when she gives birth, she goes into nifas. When you're in nifas, you cannot touch Quran. Okay, so they usually use hadith books. So hadith books are basically books that are blessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, and Allah's mercy descends where these books are. So they will take the Muwatta of Imam Malik, and the Muwatta is a book of hadith. Or any book of hadith that you have, right, in the house, you just, not so heavy. Don't put the whole volume on yourself. Right? One book, just one book. Okay, and then just put it on your tummy, right, and inshallah it will ease the delivery, right, of the child. The entire time, the ulama say that you are in the point of like someone going to fight in the way of Allah. Right, the mother in pregnancy and especially in labor, she's a mujahid. Right, she's in jihad. So she's fighting in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Her du'as are accepted. Right, so the whole time you're in pregnancy, don't waste it. And when you're in labor, your du'as are accepted. Make as much du'a as possible. If you want dua for your husband, go and give all the du'as about the husband. If you want to lah. About yourself, Ya Allah, my anger, Ya Allah, the child's coming out and I'm still not fixed up. Like you just dua as much as you can when you're in labor. As much, and the more pain you feel, right, the less sins you have. Of course, your sins are being forgiven. And when your child comes out, right, you have, you are sinless like your child. The mother after birth is as sinless as the child. And when you are sinless, your du'as go reach Allah directly. There is nothing in between. Because there's no sin. Right? The sins are the ones that block our du'as from reaching Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So the moment you give birth, you are sinless. Right? Make as much du'a, do salawat, make as much du'a, let Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept. Right? So of course for yourself, for your child, for your family, for all that you know. Right? Make your du'as at this point. Do not lose this opportunity. Right, verse 20 in Surah Abasa, ثُمَّ السَّبِيلَ يَسَّرَهُ. Right, so the verse says, and then the path Allah has made easy, meaning the path of the child coming out of the mother. Right, these are all to ease birth, all to ease birth. Try not to, if you are screamers, don't scream. Right, I don't know if people here are screamers, right? But try not to scream. Right, just zikir. Zikir. I'm not sure if any of you like to opt for epidural and opt for I don't know lah. If you okay, Allahu Alam, right? But make sure that once the baby comes out, you do your du'as. Right? You do your du'as as much as you can. Right? There is a story of Sayyidina Mansur, right, bin Ammar, one of the great ulama, right, of Islam. He said there was once his mother, he was a child, and his mother was in labor. My mother was about to give birth. The mother said to him, "Go and call your father. I'm in labor right now." He's one of those like saints lah. He turns to his mother, he's a child. He turns to his mother. He said, "Why do you want the help of the creation when you have the Creator?" Like berdua anaknya. He tend to call his father. He can come and tell you why you want the creation. You got the Creator. Right? But then the mother just kept quiet. And then he said, "But my mothers, just say, Ya Allah, aghithni. Oh Allah, help me." So the mother said that, "Ya Allah, aghithni. Oh Allah, help me." And the child came out smoothly, right, without much pain. Right. So I mean, if you can say that, right, Ya Allah, aghithni. I'll write it here. Ya Allah, aghithni. Aghithni. Tamam. Ya Allah, aghithni. Okay. You all need transliteration. I put down this one. Ya. Aghithni. Tamam. Alright. So this is labor. Okay. InsyaAllah. May Allah make it smooth. Right. So remember Surah Baqarah, if you can. Someone, your husband, yourself, whoever lah, can do so. If you want to play, okay lah, you can play down from your phone, Right, but if you can, someone reads it. Okay, best if the mother is able to, if you are able to, especially if you have long labor, you might as well just do something and read the Quran, right? If not, Ayatul Kursi. Okay, so now right after birth. Okay, at the point of birth, right? Okay, it's 4:30. Any questions? Any questions? No lah. No, you're not. Right. I mean, different people have different thresholds. So, I mean, if people opt for that, then they have their own threshold lah, right, as to what they can handle. So, you're still sinless. Don't worry about it. Right, of course, you can do C-section, everything, it's all Allah's plan lah. I mean, Allah has caused you to, because I know people who really want to give birth naturally, but then you get operated on, right? But sometimes not your control. Like epidural also same thing. Some people they can tahan, but my mother, she's like, she came in. She told me that when she came in with her third or fourth child, mother got 7 children. Then the doctor was like, this child is child number what? She was like, child number 5. I know what to do. Right? Like, don't worry about me. I'll tell when the child come out. Like pro. Right? But basically, different people different lah. Right? Different people different. Right? I know naturally, in traditional societies, in Tarim also, they would give birth squatting. Right? And now you will hear the Dawla speaking about it. Right? In a natural environment, they would squat and give birth, not lie down on their back. So lying down is the worst position, right? Because, like for example, you go to the toilet, do you lie down? No, you squat, right? You squat because squatting, gravity is helping you, right? And the compression is causing the baby to flow out, right? But lying down, it's going to cause a very awkward angle, right, for the baby, right? So, and Hawa Mariam was telling me that in Tarim, whenever babies come out, like, most of the time they are still intact in their in their sac. It's still intact, right? In the medical world of the West, that's like 1 in a million kind of thing that can happen. It's considered a miracle, but they say it's the best way to deliver if your water bag does not burst. It means it's the most safe way for your baby to actually come out. In traditional societies, that is normal. It's actually normal because squatting it makes it flow out fast, better, so the bag will not break. It keeps it in there, and then they will cut open the bag and the baby comes out. Yeah. But then our society on the bag, or they will break your bag for you sometimes. Yeah. They will poke in and they will break it for you. Right? But you don't have to break it. Right? And of course they say at 40 weeks you should give birth. Right? But Imam Imam Shafi'i, if I'm not wrong, stayed in his mother for 2 years. 2 years, huh? Imam Malik stayed in his mother for 4 years. 4 years pregnancy, no joke. Right? But people of the past, they had this going on. Like it's not, and the Shafi'i mazhab, if you look at the books of it, Shafi'i mazhab, pregnancy is any time between 6 months to 4 years. Majority of women will be 9 months, majority. Right? But it is anywhere between 6 to 4 years. You're like, wow. And so don't panic when you have reached your 40th week and the child not coming out. Don't panic. I have met people in Tarim whereby they hit the 50th week. Then the child came out. Right? So don't hey, the child coming out. What am I going to do? It's okay. People of the past didn't panic. Right? Okay. Water birth. That one, I don't know. I also don't know. I have no idea. That one you don't give birth in the water, right? You do give birth in the water? Oh. I have no idea about that one. Allahu Alam. Allahu Alam. Right. I mean, if it's good, it's good. Allahu Alam. Alright. Okay, we'll pause there. Inshallah, next week we'll talk about right after birth, the sunnahs of right after birth. Right. Of course, again, I will repeat this. Don't feel bad, right, if the child is now already 5 years old, and then now you're telling me all about birth, But just make a niyat in your heart, a very strong niyat, right? That you say to Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala, had I known this, I would have done it. Right? Had I known all of this, I would have done it, and Allah will give you the same barakah as with someone who did do it. Right? The same barakah, right? So you can niyat the bakara thing. Had I known it, I would have done it. I would read the whole bakara. Whole Surah Baqarah when I was in labor, right? And inshallah, Allah will give you as you have intended, and then the barakah will be on your children. Inshallah, we'll reach to the bringing up of children soon. Inshallah. Any other question? Yes. I didn't talk about much of it. Yes, according to the hadith, if you can pinpoint, if you know exactly what was the of conception, yes. If you know exactly what day it was, I'm not sure if you can pinpoint exactly which one. Right, but if you can but yeah, if no, I didn't mention much about it. I wanted to go into it actually about what to do on that 4th month, like when the ruh actually comes in to honor the ruh, right? But it is through the 120th day. By the hadith says clearly 40 days, 40 days, 40 days. So 120 exactly, the angel comes and blows in the ruh. From then on also you all feel the kicking, right, beginning to start and everything. Before, have you all noticed? Heartbeat. Before that, was there any kicking? No. At the if I'm not wrong, my mother told me because I got no experience. My mom told me that at the 120th day, that's when, because she was so aware, that's when the kicking began. The movement began. Because the child is now aware. Because the ruh has come. But because spend that day in worship, that day and night in worship. If you can't pinpoint which day, the whole week. If you have no clue, then the whole month. Right, just as long as you honor the ruh that's coming. So the ruh comes and sees the parents in deep worship. Right, the first impression that you have on your child. That's your child's first impression of you. Are you sleeping or are you awake tengah ibadat? Oh no. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam Muhammadin wa ala alihi wasahbihi wa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. والنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم صلى الله عليه وسلم الفاتحة. اللهم صل وسلم. doa mustajab. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wal asr. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika asyhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam Muhammadin wa ala alihi wasallam.